Ambassador Tyrell walked through the crystalline corridors of Centaura Station with 6 people trailing behind him. The station orbited a world dedicated entirely to diplomatic functions, housing representatives from 47 different species. Light refracted through transparent walls, revealing the purple clouds of the planet below. Tyrell carried a simple briefcase containing Earth's formal application to join the Galactic Council. His guards wore plain gray uniforms without any visible equipment beyond communication devices. Security Chief Vrax intercepted them at the entrance to the Grand Chamber. His species, the Corin, resembled oversized mantises with 4 arms and compound eyes that could see in multiple spectrums. Those eyes now focused intently on the human delegation. "Ambassador Tyrell, I must address a serious protocol violation before you proceed," Vrax said, his translated voice clicking with disapproval. Tyrell stopped and smiled politely. "What violation would that be, Chief Vrax?" "Your guards carry no weapons," Vrax gestured with 2 of his 4 hands. "Every protective detail in Council space must display their armaments openly. This ensures mutual deterrence and proper respect between delegations." The human guards stood relaxed, hands at their sides. Tyrell glanced back at them before responding. "Chief, human diplomatic tradition forbids armed guards in peaceful negotiations. We consider weapons an insult to our hosts and fellow diplomats." Vrax's antennae twitched in agitation. "This is unacceptable. Look around you." He swept an arm toward the chamber entrance where other delegations gathered. Drethker guards, massive reptilian beings, carried plasma rifles that hummed with barely contained energy. Halluum protectors, crystalline entities, generated visible energy shields around their ambassadors. Even the peaceful Quellan had guards wearing neural disruptors on their hips. "Every species here follows proper security protocols," Vrax continued. "Your guards are vulnerable. More importantly, they make everyone else uncomfortable. It appears either foolish or deceptive." One of the human guards, a woman named Patricia, spoke up. "Chief Vrax, we assure you we're neither foolish nor deceptive. We simply handle security differently." "How can you handle anything without tools?" Vrax demanded. "This makes no sense." Tyrell stepped closer to the security chief. "Nevertheless, this is our way. We respectfully request accommodation for our cultural practices, just as we accommodate yours." Vrax vibrated with frustration but finally relented. "I will allow this irregularity for now. However, I am filing a formal complaint with the Council Oversight Committee. Your people will likely face questioning about this." He stepped aside, allowing them passage. As the human delegation entered the Grand Chamber, whispers spread through the gathered representatives. The chamber itself was an architectural marvel, a sphere with seating arranged in concentric rings around a central platform. Each species delegation occupied a designated section. Holographic displays floated throughout, translating speeches into hundreds of languages simultaneously. Ambassador Kellix of the Halluum drifted toward his aide. The Halluum were silicon-based life forms that resembled mobile clusters of glowing crystals. "Did you see the human guards?" he chimed. "No weapons at all. How delightfully bizarre." His aide hummed thoughtfully. "Perhaps it is a psychological tactic, make others underestimate them. Or perhaps they truly are as naive as they appear," a deep voice rumbled behind them. Ambassador Rothak of the Drethker delegation loomed over nearby species. His scales were deep crimson and his eyes held predatory intelligence. "Humans claim to seek membership in the Council, yet they demonstrate weakness before even speaking. This does not inspire confidence." Rothak's own guards stood like statues behind him, each over 2 meters tall and bristling with weapons. Their species had evolved as apex predators. Every aspect of their culture revolved around strength and dominance. They viewed weaponry as an extension of natural superiority. Tyrell took his position on the central platform. The other 5 human guards spread out around the chamber's perimeter, maintaining clear sight lines. They moved with quiet efficiency, never speaking, hands remaining visible at all times. Other delegations' guards watched them with expressions ranging from curiosity to contempt. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Tyrell began, his voice carrying through the translation systems. "Humanity comes before you in friendship and hope. We have much to learn from the species gathered here. We also believe we have much to contribute. Earth has known conflict, but we have also learned the value of cooperation. Our planet hosts thousands of distinct cultures that have learned to coexist. We bring this experience to the wider galactic community." The speech continued for 20 minutes. Tyrell outlined human achievements in science, art, and philosophy. He acknowledged humanity's violent history honestly. He explained how Earth had unified after discovering they were not alone in the universe. Throughout the presentation, holographic images displayed human cities, natural wonders, and cultural celebrations. Several council members asked questions. Most were standard diplomatic inquiries about trade, territorial claims, and technological capabilities. But Ambassador Rothak stood when his turn came. "Ambassador Tyrell, I have observed your guards. They carry nothing. They wear no armor. How does your species expect to be taken seriously in a universe where strength determines survival?" Tyrell met the Drethker's gaze calmly. "Ambassador Rothak, we believe true strength comes from choosing peace when violence is possible. Our guards demonstrate this principle. They are here to protect me, not to threaten you." "Protection requires capability," Rothak countered. "Your guards have no capability I can see." "Appearances can be deceiving," Tyrell replied. "But I hope we never have cause to demonstrate beyond what you see before you today. Surely the Council values wisdom over displays of force." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some species nodded approval at Tyrell's words. Others, particularly those allied with the Drethker, appeared skeptical. The session continued for another hour before Council Chairman Peloth called for a recess. The formal vote on human membership would take place in 3 days after proper deliberation. As delegations filed out, Rothak leaned close to his primary aide. "The humans will learn their place soon enough. The Council protects the strong. These weak creatures with their empty words will find no home here." His aide clicked agreement, sharp teeth visible in what passed for a Drethker smile. Meanwhile, Vrax watched the human guards from his security station. Something about their movements troubled him, though he could not identify what. They were too calm, too coordinated. He pulled up their biographical files. All 6 had military backgrounds, special operations, combat instructors, strategic defense, yet here they stood, unarmed in a chamber filled with potential threats. Vrax flagged their files for deeper analysis. Whatever game the humans were playing, he intended to understand it before something went wrong. The human delegation returned to their assigned quarters. Only then did the guards relax slightly. Russell, the team leader, spoke quietly to Tyrell. "The Drethker ambassador is looking for an excuse to challenge our membership." "I know," Tyrell replied. "Let us hope wisdom prevails over pride in the coming days." He looked at his guards. "Stay alert, but remember your training. We are here to build bridges, not walls." Patricia nodded. "Understood, sir. We will not give them any reason to doubt humanity's peaceful intentions." The other guards murmured agreement. Outside their quarters, Centaura Station hummed with diplomatic intrigue. The question of human membership had become the most discussed topic in the corridors, and nobody yet understood why the humans who claimed to want peace had brought guards trained for war. 3 days passed in careful diplomatic maneuvering. Humanity's application for council membership sparked heated debate in private chambers and public forums. The Haluum supported human inclusion, fascinated by Earth's cultural diversity. The Quellan remained neutral, as was their custom. The Drethker lobbied aggressively against it. Ambassador Rothak spent those days building a coalition. He met with species who valued military strength above all else. His arguments were simple and persuasive. Humans were too weak to deserve council protection. They possessed no remarkable technology. Their diplomatic guards carried no weapons, proving they did not understand galactic realities. Granting them membership would dilute the council's prestige. On the 3rd day, the Grand Chamber filled again for the formal vote. Delegates took their assigned seats. The human delegation arrived precisely on time. Tyrell wore formal attire, a simple suit that reflected humanity's understated approach. His 6 guards maintained their positions around the chamber, still unarmed, still calm. Chairman Peloth, a being whose species resembled floating jellyfish with bioluminescent patterns, called the session to order. We gather to vote on the application of Earth and its peoples for full council membership. Ambassador Rothak has requested time to present a final objection. We will hear him before proceeding to vote. Rothak rose, his bulk casting shadows across nearby delegations. Honored Chairman, fellow council members, I speak not from prejudice but from concern. Humans are a young species. They have barely left their home system. They show potential, yes, but potential alone does not merit our acceptance. Look at their guards standing there with empty hands. This is not humility. This is ignorance of how dangerous the galaxy truly is. If we admit them now, we take responsibility for their protection. They are not ready. We should revisit this application in 50 years when they have matured. Several delegations indicated agreement. Tyrell waited patiently for his turn to respond. But before Chairman Peloth could recognize him, alarms shrieked through the chamber. Emergency bulkheads began sliding down over the exits. Vrax's voice boomed through the communication systems. All delegates remain in your seats. We have detected a security breach. Armed intruders are approaching the Grand Chamber. Station security is responding. Too late, explosive charges blew open a maintenance access panel near the ceiling. 8 figures dropped into the chamber. All wore combat armor, all carried military-grade weapons. Their armor markings identified them as Drethker, though not official military. Rothak stood immediately. I do not know these people. This is not sanctioned by my government. The lead intruder aimed his weapon at Rothak. Sit down, Ambassador. You have become too soft, too willing to accept weakness. We act for the true strength of our people. Rothak slowly lowered himself back into his seat. The terrorists spread out, weapons trained on the terrified delegates. Their leader, identifiable by unique red markings on his armor, moved to the central platform. Nobody move and nobody gets hurt. We have a simple demand. The Council will reject human membership. Furthermore, the Council will grant Drethker expansion rights into the disputed Koran border territories. You have 12 hours to comply. After that, we start executing hostages, beginning with the weakest species represented here. Guards from various delegations reached for their weapons. The terrorist's response was immediate. He fired a warning shot that vaporized a section of seating. Try that again and I will not aim at empty chairs. The armed guards froze. They were well trained but outnumbered and caught in a confined space with their protectees. Any firefight would result in massive casualties. The terrorist leader continued. All guards will place their weapons on the floor and kick them toward us. Now, slowly, reluctantly, armed guards complied. Plasma rifles, neural disruptors, energy projectors all clattered across the chamber floor. The terrorists collected them efficiently. Then the leader noticed the human guards. U6, weapons on the floor. Russell stepped forward slightly. We are not armed. The terrorist leader's laugh echoed through his helmet speakers. Look at this. The monkey people brought protectors with no tools. This is why your species does not belong here. You do not even understand basic security. He turned to his team. Watch them anyway. Unarmed idiots are still idiots. Hours crawled past. Station security attempted entry through multiple access points. Each attempt was repelled. The terrorists had planned well. They controlled the chamber's environmental systems and communication arrays. Chairman Peloth tried to negotiate. The terrorist leader refused all compromise. His demands were absolute. The human guards had not moved from their positions. They stood with hands visible, making no threatening gestures. Other species guards sat dejectedly, separated from their weapons and their delegates. But the humans simply waited. Their eyes tracked the terrorists' movements. Their breathing remained steady and synchronized. Vrax watched through security feeds from outside the chamber. He had accessed the human guards' full military records. Russell had trained elite special forces. Patricia specialized in close-quarters combat. Another guard, David, held certifications in 17 different martial disciplines. They were not random protective detail. They were among Earth's most dangerous soldiers, yet they stood there peacefully while armed terrorists controlled the situation. Inside the chamber, Ambassador Rothak watched the humans too. Something about their stillness unnerved him more than the weapons pointed at his head. They did not look afraid. They did not look angry. They looked patient, like predators waiting for the right moment. He had seen that look before in the eyes of hunters from his homeworld. The terrorist leader grew agitated as negotiations failed. The council is stalling. They do not take us seriously. We need to demonstrate our commitment. He scanned the hostages. We will execute someone as motivation. His eyes landed on the human guards. Perfect. We will kill one of the unarmed fools. That will show the council we mean business, and it removes one of the species we want rejected anyway. He pointed at Russell. You come here. Russell walked forward calmly. He did not resist as two terrorists grabbed his arms. They forced him to his knees on the central platform. The leader drew a sidearm and pressed it against Russell's head. Any last words, human? Russell looked up at him. Why are you doing this? Your people are not monsters. The ambassador back there is trying to lead you towards something better. You are throwing that away. We are reclaiming our strength, the terrorist snarled. Something you would not understand. He raised his voice to address the chamber. Council members, you have 10 seconds to agree to our demands or I paint this platform with human brains. 10, 9, 8. Tyrell stood. Wait, please, let us discuss this. 7, 6, 5. The terrorist's finger tightened on the trigger. Other delegates began shouting. Some begged for mercy. Others urged compliance with the demands. Chaos rippled through the hostages. 4, 3, 2. Ambassador Tyrell said one word, quietly but clearly. Enough. The 5 other human guards moved as if they had rehearsed the moment 1,000 times. Patricia covered 15 meters in 3 seconds. David pivoted and closed distance on the nearest terrorist. The others flowed into action simultaneously. What happened next would be analyzed for years in council security training. It would become the subject of academic studies, and it would change how every species in the galaxy understood humanity. But in that moment it simply happened, fast, silent, and absolutely decisive. Russell moved first. His hands came up faster than the terrorist could react. One hand grabbed the weapon barrel, pushing it away from his head. The other struck the terrorist's wrist at a precise angle. Bones broke. The gun fell. Russell rose smoothly, his elbow driving into the terrorist's throat. The leader collapsed, gasping for air. Patricia reached the terrorist guarding the main entrance before he could aim his weapon. She ducked under his arms and drove her palm into his solar plexus. As he doubled over, she caught his head and brought her knee up. He went down hard. She caught his rifle before it hit the floor and carefully set it aside. 2 seconds had passed. David faced a terrorist who actually managed to bring his weapon around. David stepped inside the barrel's arc, too close for the gun to target him effectively. His hand chopped down on the terrorist's forearm. The weapon clattered away. David's other hand struck nerve clusters in the terrorist's neck. The attacker's eyes rolled back and he crumpled. The remaining terrorists finally registered the threat. They tried to respond. One aimed at Patricia. Another guard, a man named Joseph, was already there. He kicked the terrorist's knee, collapsing his stance. As the terrorist fell, Joseph controlled his descent with a chokehold that rendered him unconscious in seconds. A terrorist near the ceiling access point opened fire. Energy bolts scorched the air. Delegates screamed and dove for cover. The last 2 human guards, Laura and William, split and flanked him. Laura slid under his firing arc. William came from the opposite side. They converged simultaneously. Laura swept his legs. William caught him as he fell and applied pressure to his carotid artery. The terrorist went limp. The 3 remaining terrorists backed together. They held their weapons in shaking hands. "Stay back," one shouted. "We will kill everyone." Russell stood slowly from where he had neutralized the leader. Blood dripped from his lip where he had been struck earlier. "No, you will not," he said calmly. "Put down your weapons. Nobody else needs to get hurt." One terrorist fired wildly. Russell dove sideways, the bolt missed by centimeters. Patricia and David used the distraction. They closed from different angles. Patricia caught the shooter's arm and twisted. The weapon discharged harmlessly into the ceiling. She continued the momentum, throwing the terrorist over her hip. He landed hard. David was already applying a submission hold. The terrorist struggled for a moment, then went still. The final two terrorists dropped their weapons. "We surrender," they said together. William and Laura approached carefully. They secured the terrorists' hands using improvised restraints torn from the terrorists' own equipment. Joseph checked each unconscious attacker, ensuring they were breathing and stable. The entire engagement had lasted 18 seconds. Ambassador Tyrell stepped onto the platform. "Is anyone injured?" Russell touched his bleeding lip. "Nothing serious, sir." He looked around at the 6 human guards. "Status?" "All hostiles neutralized," Patricia reported. "0 casualties among hostages or security personnel." "Confirmed," David added. 8 attackers all alive, all disarmed." The chamber remained silent. Delegates stared in shock. Armed guards from other species looked at their recovered weapons, then at the humans, then back at their weapons. They had been trained, equipped, and prepared. Yet they had been helpless. The unarmed humans had resolved the situation in less time than it took to process what was happening. Chairman Peloth floated down to the platform. His bioluminescent patterns flickered with emotion. How is this possible?" Russell straightened. "Sir, we are trained in combat systems that do not require weapons. Our bodies are the tools, our minds are the weapons." Vrax burst through the now-open entrance with a security team. He stopped when he saw the scene. 8 terrorists unconscious or restrained. 6 human guards standing calmly, not a single shot fired by the humans. He approached Russell. "You had no weapons." "We needed none," Russell replied simply. Vrax's antennae quivered. "I have seen combat footage from 100 species. I have never seen anything like what just occurred. You moved faster than some species with enhanced reflexes. You struck with precision that suggests advanced targeting systems. Yet you are organic, unaugmented, and unarmed." He paused. "What are you?" "We are human," Patricia answered. "We are what happens when a species spends thousands of years learning how to fight without relying on tools." Ambassador Rothak had remained seated throughout. Now he rose and approached the platform. His expression was unreadable. "Your species hides its true nature. You claim to come in peace, yet you brought warriors of exceptional capability." Tyrell met his gaze. "We did come in peace, Ambassador. Notice that all 8 attackers are alive. My guards could have killed them. That would have been faster and simpler. But we chose restraint. We chose to preserve life, even the lives of those who threatened us. That is what humanity offers the Council, not violence, but the discipline to avoid it even when violence would be easier." Rothak considered this. "On my world, strength is everything. I thought your species weak because you carried no weapons. I was wrong. You carry no weapons because you have transcended the need for them." He turned to Chairman Peloth. "I withdraw my objection to human membership." Medical teams arrived to treat the unconscious terrorists. Council security took custody of those who had surrendered. Vrax coordinated the response, but his eyes kept returning to the human guards. They had resumed their positions around the chamber. Their uniforms were slightly disheveled. Russell still had blood on his face. Otherwise, they appeared exactly as they had before the attack. Other delegates approached Tyrell. Ambassador Kellix of the Haluum chimed with admiration. "Your people have given us much to consider. The precision, the control, the complete absence of lethal force. This is art as much as combat." "It is necessity," Tyrell replied. "Humans are fragile compared to many species. We do not have natural armor or enhanced strength, so we learned to use technique instead of power. We studied anatomy, physics, psychology. We turned our weakness into a different kind of strength." A Quellan delegate, her feathers ruffling with curiosity, asked, "How long does it take to train a guard to this level?" Russell answered, "A lifetime. Most of us began training as children. We studied dozens of different martial systems. Each system teaches different principles. Together, they create a complete understanding of combat. But why? Another delegate asked. Your species has advanced weapons. Why spend so much effort on hand-to-hand combat? Because weapons can be taken away, David said. Weapons can malfunction, weapons can be turned against you, but knowledge and skill cannot be removed. They are permanent. They are always available. Laura added, also, weapons kill easily, sometimes too easily. A soldier who only knows how to use guns sees every problem as a target. A warrior who understands unarmed combat has more options, can choose the appropriate level of force, can stop a threat without ending a life. Chairman Peloth listened carefully. You are saying that your choice to remain unarmed is not weakness but wisdom. Yes, Chairman, Tyrell confirmed. In diplomatic settings, we choose to demonstrate trust rather than threat. But as you have seen, this does not leave us defenseless. It simply means we exercise our strength with discretion. Vrax approached with preliminary reports. Ambassador Tyrell, my analysis confirms that your guards showed remarkable restraint. Every strike was calculated to disable without permanent injury. The terrorists will recover fully. This level of control while under direct threat is unprecedented. He looked at Russell. I would like to request something. Would your people be willing to train Council security forces in these techniques? Russell glanced at Tyrell, who nodded. We would be honored, Chief Vrax. Knowledge grows when shared. The chamber slowly returned to order. Delegates returned to their seats. The terrorists were removed to holding cells. Council medical staff confirmed that both hostages and attackers were stable. The crisis had ended with 0 fatalities. In a galaxy where conflicts typically resulted in massive casualties, this outcome seemed almost miraculous. But to the humans, it was simply training and discipline applied correctly. They had done exactly what they were prepared to do, no more, no less. And in doing so, they had taught the Galactic Council something new about the nature of strength. Council security spent hours processing the crime scene. Vrax insisted on reviewing surveillance footage repeatedly. Each time he watched the human guards move, he discovered new details. The way Patricia had used the terrorists' own momentum against him. How David had struck nerve clusters with surgical precision. The coordinated timing that suggested the 6 guards operated as a single organism. Run it again, Vrax told his technical specialist. Slow it down to quarter speed. At reduced speed, the movements became even more impressive. Every action had purpose. No wasted motion. Russell's disarm of the leader happened in 3 distinct phases, each flowing seamlessly into the next. When Patricia struck the terrorist's solar plexus, her entire body aligned to maximize impact while minimizing injury to herself. Chief, I have analyzed the strike angles, the specialist reported. The humans targeted specific anatomical weaknesses. They demonstrate comprehensive knowledge of multiple species' physiologies. That guard there, the one called Laura, she adjusted her technique between targets. One terrorist is Drethker, thick scales and dense muscle. She struck his joints where armor is thinnest. Another terrorist is Velian, lighter build with exposed nervous system ridges. She used different pressure points entirely. Vrax sat back. They adapted instantly to different opponents. Most security forces train to fight their own species or generic threat. Models, these humans understand dozens of body types well enough to exploit their vulnerabilities in real time. The specialist pulled up biographical data. According to their files, human guards receive cross-species combat training. They study anatomy of every known sapient species. This is required for their diplomatic protection certification. Remarkable, Vrax murmured. Most species develop weapons to overcome physical differences. Humans instead developed knowledge. Meanwhile, in a council medical facility, the captured terrorists were recovering. Rothak visited them under guard. The terrorist leader, whose name was Krenth, sat with his arm in a medical brace. His throat was bruised but functional. You brought shame to our people, Rothak said quietly. Krenth glared. I fought for Drethker's strength. You have forgotten what makes us powerful. No, Rothak replied. You have forgotten what true power is. I watched those humans yesterday. They had every reason to kill you. You threatened their ambassador. You threatened hundreds of innocents. Yet they chose to spare you. Do you understand how much control that requires? How much discipline? That is strength, Krenth. Real strength is choosing mercy when vengeance would be easier. Krenth looked away. They humiliated us, defeated us without weapons. They taught us something we needed to learn, Rothak corrected. That power without wisdom is just brutality. That weapons without judgment are just tools for creating corpses. The humans understand this. We are only beginning to. Back in the Grand Chamber, an emergency session convened. The vote on human membership had been postponed during the crisis. Now Chairman Peloth called for immediate resolution. Events have given us unique insight into human character. We have seen their capability. We have also seen their restraint. The question before us is simple. Does Earth merit membership in the Galactic Council? Ambassador Tyrell stood. Chairman, honored delegates, I will not pretend yesterday's events were pleasant, but I hope they demonstrated something important. Humanity seeks membership not to dominate but to contribute. We have learned hard lessons about violence. We know its costs. We also know that sometimes force is necessary to protect the innocent. What distinguishes us, perhaps, is that we have learned to apply force precisely, proportionally, and always as a last resort. Your guards could have killed the terrorists, observed a delegate from the Korthan Collective. Why did they not? Because killing was not necessary, Tyrell replied. Our philosophy is simple. Use the minimum force required to resolve the situation. Those terrorists were misguided, angry, desperate. But they were still people. They deserved the chance to face justice, to learn from their mistakes, possibly to change. Death eliminates all such possibilities. Ambassador Kellix chimed in. I have reviewed the incident extensively. The human response was elegant. They turned violence into a teaching moment. The terrorists lived to face judgment. The hostages escaped unharmed. Even the terrorists themselves suffered no permanent injury. This outcome seemed impossible when weapons were drawn, yet the humans achieved it. Vrax stepped forward. Chairman, if I may speak, I initially objected to the humans' lack of weapons. I filed formal complaints. I considered their approach naive. I was profoundly wrong. He turned to address the full chamber. In my 30 years as security chief, I have responded to 17 hostage situations. 14 ended with casualties. 3 ended with all hostages safe but attackers dead. Never have I seen a resolution where everyone survived and terrorists were captured intact. The humans did this in 18 seconds. Chief Vrax, another delegate asked, do you now recommend all council guards adopt human methods? I recommend we learn from them, Vrax replied. Our species have different physical capabilities. Not all of us can replicate human techniques exactly. But the principles they employ, the emphasis on control and precision, the extensive anatomical knowledge, these are universally applicable. I have already requested formal training programs. Rothak stood. I wish to address my earlier opposition. I believed humans were weak. I judged them by their lack of visible weapons. This was the thinking of someone who confuses tools with capability. Yesterday, 6 unarmed humans defeated 8 armed terrorists. They did so without killing. They did so while protecting hundreds of lives. This demonstrates not weakness but mastery. I now strongly support human membership. We need their perspective in the council. We need their example. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Even species that had been skeptical appeared swayed. The demonstration of human capability had been undeniable. More importantly, the demonstration of human restraint had addressed deeper concerns about introducing a potentially aggressive species into council space. Chairman Peloth observed the shifting sentiment. I believe we are ready to vote. All those in favor of granting full council membership to Earth and its peoples indicate now. Lights activated across the chamber. Each delegate's vote registered in the central system. The Haluum voted yes. The Quellan voted yes. The Drethker voted yes. One by one, delegations indicated approval. When the count finished, the result was unanimous. By the authority vested in me as council chairman, Peloth announced, I formally welcome humanity to the Galactic Council Ambassador Tyrell, your people are now under council protection and subject to council law. Welcome. Tyrell bowed. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I accept with gratitude and humility. We will strive to be worthy of this trust. Applause filled the chamber. Delegates approached to offer congratulations. The human guards maintained their positions, professional and alert. But Russell allowed himself a small smile. They had come here to prove humanity belonged. They had been forced to do so in ways none of them anticipated. But the mission was accomplished. Vrax approached Russell afterward. I meant what I said about training. When can we begin? Whenever you wish, Chief, Russell replied. But I should warn you, what you saw yesterday represents decades of training. Learning the basics will take years. Mastering them takes a lifetime. I have time, Vrax said. More importantly, the Council has time. Your species has given us a gift. The knowledge that there are alternatives to escalation, that conflicts can end without corpses. This is worth any amount of study. Russell nodded. Then we will teach you. But remember, the techniques are just tools. The real lesson is the philosophy behind them. Respect for life, even the lives of enemies, discipline over emotion, minimum necessary force. Without these principles, the techniques are just violence with better precision. Understood, Vrax replied. We will learn both the movements and the meaning. As the delegates filed out, Tyrell gathered his guards. Well done, all of you. That was not how I hoped to secure membership, but you performed flawlessly. Just doing our jobs, sir, Patricia said. No, Tyrell corrected. You did much more. You showed the galaxy that humanity can be trusted, that we have strength but choose to use it wisely. That is the foundation of everything we hope to build here. The guards nodded. They had been trained for this, not the specific scenario of terrorist attacks, but the broader mission of representing humanity's best qualities. Yesterday they had been warriors. Today they were ambassadors. Tomorrow they would be teachers. All roles required the same fundamental skills: control, precision, and the wisdom to know when and how to apply them. 6 months passed. Centaura Station transformed into an unexpected hub of cultural exchange. What began as diplomatic necessity evolved into something more profound. The Human Guard's demonstration had sparked interest across Council space. Dozens of species requested training in human combat methods. Russell stood in a converted cargo bay now serving as a training facility. Before him, 30 beings from 15 different species attempted basic strikes. A Koran named Threx moved his 4 arms in the sequence Russell had shown. A Haluum student named Chorus tried to replicate the footwork, his crystalline structure refracting light as he shifted weight. 2 Drethker, sent by Rothak himself, practiced joint locks on each other with surprising gentleness. Remember, Russell called out, power comes from your center, not your limbs. Your entire body must align. Threx, use your lower arms for stability while the upper arms strike. Chorus, your species does not have traditional muscles, but you can adjust your density, focus mass where you need it. Patricia worked with another group on defensive techniques. She demonstrated how to redirect an opponent's force rather than meeting it directly. A small Quellan named Pip watched intently. But I am much weaker than most species, Pip said. How can I redirect something so much stronger than me? That is exactly why this works, Patricia explained. You do not fight strength with strength. You use geometry and timing. Here, grab my wrist as hard as you can, Pip complied. Patricia twisted her arm in a specific pattern. Pip's grip broke instantly, and he found himself gently lowered to the ground. I did not use force. I used angles that your joints cannot resist. Physics works the same for everyone. Vrax observed from the side. He had become Russell's most dedicated student. Every day he trained for 4 hours. His species' multiple limbs actually gave him advantages in certain techniques once he learned to coordinate them. Russell, I have a question about yesterday's scenario training. Go ahead, Chief. When facing multiple opponents, you teach us to position ourselves so they interfere with each other. But what if they coordinate properly? What if they attack from multiple angles simultaneously? Russell smiled. Then you have already lost unless you are exceptionally skilled. This is why we emphasize awareness and positioning. The goal is never to fight multiple opponents. The goal is to avoid situations where you must. But if you find yourself there, you create chaos. You move unpredictably. You use one opponent as a shield against another. You make them hesitant to strike for fear of hitting each other. So the techniques are only part of the training, Vrax observed. Exactly, the physical techniques matter, but strategy matters more. Awareness matters most of all. A fight you avoid is a fight you have won. In another section of the facility, David taught anatomy. Holographic displays showed the skeletal and nervous systems of various species. Every body has vulnerabilities, he explained. For Drethker, the joints between scale plates. For Corin, the nerve clusters at limb connections. For Halium, the resonance frequencies that disrupt crystalline structure. But knowing vulnerabilities is not enough. You must know when to exploit them and when to show restraint. A young Drethker student named Valth raised his hand. Teacher David, I understand the techniques, but I do not understand why we should show restraint. If someone attacks me, why should I not end the threat permanently? David considered the question seriously. Valth, let me answer with a question. If you kill everyone who threatens you, what have you become? Victorious, Valth replied. Also alone, David countered. Violence creates cycles. You kill an attacker, their family seeks revenge. You kill them, their clan declares vendetta. Where does it end? But if you stop the attacker without killing them, you break the cycle. They may even become allies once they understand you could have killed them but chose not to. This happened with your own ambassador, did it not? Val thought about this. Ambassador Rothek opposed humans. Now he supports you because you spared the terrorists. Partly, David agreed, but also because we demonstrated something he needed to see. That mercy is not weakness. That choosing not to kill requires more strength than killing. Your people value strength above all. We showed you a different kind of strength. The training sessions continued daily. Word spread through council space. Requests for human instructors came from colonies and outposts. The council formally established the Human Martial Academy, granting it official status. Tyrell proposed it. The council approved unanimously. But success brought challenges. Some species struggled with the philosophical aspects. They could learn the techniques but not the restraint. A group of Velian students got into a fight at a station bar. They used human strikes to hurt, not to control. The victims required medical attention. Russell expelled the Velians from the program. But we won the fight, their leader protested. You missed the point, Russell replied. Completely, I taught you how to end conflicts. You used it to escalate them. Until you understand why we fight only when necessary, you are not ready to learn how we fight. The incident prompted Russell to add a new requirement. All students had to complete a philosophy course before physical training. Laura taught it. She covered the history of human martial arts, the concept of the warrior poet, the idea that true strength includes compassion. On Earth, Laura explained to a class, we have a saying, anyone can take a life, not everyone can save one. Our combat training is designed around this principle. Every technique has a lethal and a non-lethal application. Learning both teaches you to choose, and choosing correctly makes you a warrior rather than just a killer. Ambassador Kellix visited the academy regularly. He found the human approach fascinating from an anthropological perspective. Your species experienced significant warfare, he chimed to Russell during one visit. Yet you developed combat systems that emphasize preservation of life. How did this paradox develop? Russell led him to a quiet observation room overlooking the training floor. Because we learned from our mistakes. Earth's history is full of violence. Wars killed millions. We developed terrible weapons. For a while, we thought deadlier weapons meant greater security, but weapons create fear. Fear creates conflict. We nearly destroyed ourselves after that. We realized we needed a different approach. We needed people who could protect without terrorizing, guard without menacing, fight without hating. So your martial arts are a response to your own violent nature, Kellix observed. More than that, Russell replied. They are a transformation of it. We took our capacity for violence and refined it into something controlled, precise, and ultimately constructive. We cannot eliminate our aggressive instincts. We are still primates with predator traits, but we can channel those instincts, give them purpose, transform raw aggression into disciplined protection. Kelix's patterns brightened with understanding. You made peace with your violent side by giving it boundaries. Exactly, a warrior who has never felt rage cannot truly control it. But a warrior who understands their own capacity for violence can choose when and how to apply it. That choice is what separates a guardian from a killer. Months became a year. The Human Martial Academy graduated its first class. 30 beings from 20 species received certification. They returned to their homeworlds as instructors. The program expanded. New facilities opened on other stations. Human guards became prized assignments. Their reputation for resolving conflicts without casualties spread. But the Academy taught more than combat. Students learned human philosophy, human history, human art. They learned about Earth's journey from fragmented warring states to unified world. They discovered that humanity's greatest strength was not physical prowess, but the ability to change. Vrax completed advanced training. He could now move with frightening efficiency. His forearms gave him capabilities human instructors found challenging to counter. But more importantly, he had internalized the philosophy. "I understand now," he told Russell during their final session. "Why you carry no weapons. It is not about being unarmed. It is about being in control. Weapons give false confidence. They make you lazy. Without them, you must truly understand conflict, must read opponents, must think 3 moves ahead. The weapon was never the point. The warrior's mind was always the real weapon." "You have learned well," Russell acknowledged. "You are ready to teach others." Vrax felt pride at the recognition. "I will establish a program on my homeworld, adapt your techniques for Koran physiology, spread the philosophy you have shared." Similar conversations happened across Council space. The human approach to conflict resolution began influencing policy, diplomatic protocols changed, armed guards became less common. Species began training their protectors in human methods. The galaxy did not become peaceful overnight. Conflicts still occurred, but they ended differently: more talking, less shooting, more restraint, less retaliation. On Centaura Station, Ambassador Tyrell hosted a gathering celebrating 1 year of Human Council membership. Delegates from across known space attended. Rothak approached Tyrell during the reception. "Ambassador, I owe your species a debt. You changed how my people view strength. We are still warriors. That will never change. But now we are warriors who understand that true victory is the fight you never have to finish." "Ambassador Rothak, your people's evolution has been remarkable. You embrace change when you could have clung to old ways. That takes courage." Rothak's scales rippled in what humans had learned was amusement. "My people respect strength. You showed us a stronger way to be strong. We adapted. That is also strength." As the celebration continued, the 6 human guards maintained their positions, still unarmed, still alert, still calm. They had come to Centaura Station a year ago expecting to stand quietly while diplomats talked. Instead, they had become teachers, showing the galaxy that the deadliest warriors are often those who choose not to kill. Russell watched the diverse species mingling peacefully. A year ago, many had doubted humans belonged here. Now human philosophy influenced council policy. Human techniques protected delegates. Human guards trained security forces across known space. "We did good work," Patricia said quietly beside him. "We did necessary work," Russell replied. "But the work is never finished. Somewhere in the galaxy, conflicts are brewing, people need protecting, and someone needs to remember that protection does not require destruction." He smiled slightly. "I suppose we should keep teaching." "Always," Patricia agreed. "That is what warriors do when wars end. They teach the next generation to be better than they were." Outside the station, stars burned steadily. In cargo bays converted to training halls, students from 100 worlds practiced human techniques. They learned to strike with precision, to defend with wisdom, to protect without destroying, and slowly across the vast expanse of council space, a new understanding emerged, that the most dangerous weapon was the one that chose not to fire. That true strength was measured not by capacity for violence but by restraint in using it. That humanity's gift to the galaxy was not advanced technology or military might, but the simple, profound lesson that you could be both powerful and peaceful. The humans had taught the Council why they carried no weapons, because they needed none, because they had learned something more valuable than firepower. They had learned control, and in a dangerous galaxy, nothing was more powerful than knowing when not to fight.